Marcus is saying, what makes up liquidity? Does it take into account the growing euro-dollar market? And what about private credit? What about inflows as a result of ETF, MSGR, etc.? What's the key difference between M2 and CBL? Great question, Marcos. The key difference is what you said it here, the euro-dollar market and private credit. Central bank liquidity ignores all of that. Central bank liquidity just it looks at the activities of central banks, how much money they're creating or destroying. It on purpose ignores the entire euro-dollar market and it ignores private credit creation. Now, when I hear myself say that, I think to myself, but there's no way that doesn't make any sense. We should use private credit. Again, I've been writing recently about how the funding of budget deficits is slowly shifting away from central banks and moving entirely into commercial banks. This is why Scott Bessent keeps issuing T-bills, because the banks eat that up. They love those 3-month, 6-month T-bills, 9 months. I don't know if they have 9-month T-bills, but they love those. They eat them up. That's why they keep floating those, because it's a way to engage in shadow QE. All of these make perfect sense to me. But you know what? If I overlay M2, in other words, in fact, Marcos, if you take strictly, and I have this somewhere, I can't find it now, but I have an indicator that just looks at private credit, just the euro-dollar market, just private credit creation. It has no relationship to the price of Bitcoin, like none. It's very, very non-correlated. So private credit creation, it is being used to fund government deficits. There's no question about that, but it doesn't influence the price of crypto assets. Now, why is that? I don't know. It could be that people who trade crypto don't care about private credit creation. Part of this could be psychology, market psychology, that market participants have not adjusted to the idea that commercial banks like Jamie Dimon is doing the QE nowadays. It's not Jay Powell at the Fed. It's Jamie Dimon and whoever his counterpart is at Deutsche Bank in Europe. They're the ones who are doing QE now. They're the ones funding fiscal deficits. It's no longer the central banks. Now, whatever the reason may be, the fact remains private credit creation is booming, but it is not and has not affected crypto for years. That's not what you need. You need to look at central bank activity, just central banks. And again, as I'm saying this, I do think that might change in the future. I do think there's a scenario where Bitcoin actually does what people are expecting it to, with zero hedge, or Raoul Pal expected to do, where it just catches up. It begins to catch up. It doesn't cross the VTL, it catches up to him too. That's the narrative now. It's going to catch up by the end of the year. Maybe it does. All I'm pointing out here is it hasn't. I don't think it probably won't, because even if we ignore liquidity and we just look at geocosmic indicators and cycle indicators, the picture is not bullish. So what's it going to take for it to just suddenly reverse and march higher? I don't know. I will also point out that both M2 that uses broad credit, central banks are only about, you can see the numbers here. Central banks are only about a third of global liquidity. The other 2/3, private banks, euro-dollar market, hedge funds, dark pools, all these financial institutions, quasi-financial institutions, they're the bulk of the euro-dollar market.